Let's be honest, private equity is a high-stakes game. Every single investment is a bet on a future exit. But what if the game is kind of rigged against you right from the start? For investors, managing a portfolio of private companies is this constant battle against uncertainty. So let's jump in and see if there's a better way to play this game.
Get a load of this number, 90%. That is the staggering percentage of private equity-backed companies that stall out before they ever reach a successful exit. They just run out of steam, they run out of cash, and they leave investors holding the bag.
So that really brings us to the big question you have to ask yourself as an investor, right? With odds like that, how can you possibly be confident that your portfolio companies are the ones that are actually on the path to delivering a return? How do you avoid becoming just another statistic?
To figure that out, we've got to dig into what's being called the 90% problem. Why do so many promising companies just hit a wall? Well, it almost always boils down to one critical resource. It's actually pretty simple. They run out of cash. And when that capital dries up, the journey to an exit just grinds to a halt. For an investor, this is the absolute worst-case scenario. It's the private equity non-liquidity trap. Your capital is tied up, you can't declare a loss, you can't take a profit, and you sure can't redeploy those funds into a better opportunity. You're just stuck.
So why does the cash run out? Well, it usually comes down to one of three things. First, and this is the most common, they just fail to hit their sales projections. Second, product development costs spiral out of control. And third, the underlying financial plan itself is just flawed from the get-go. See, it's not just about having the money. It's about having a really, really good map for how you're going to spend it.
Okay, but what if there was a way to see these problems coming, to diagnose and fix them before they become fatal? Well, this brings us to a proactive solution called the capital drill, a system that's designed to prevent companies from stalling in the first place.
So this system is called the capital drill, and it's being pushed as the new best practice for financial management in private equity. And its whole goal? To build a super detailed financial game plan that gets the company's operations and the investors' expectations on the exact same page right from day one.
You know, the real power of this system is just how clear it is. It's all about cutting through the noise to answer that one simple, all-important question for you, the investor. Which of your companies are actually on track to make you money, and which ones are just spinning their wheels?
And this is really the key takeaway here. It's about a huge shift in mindset. Instead of managing for tactical, day-to-day survival, just trying to make it to the next funding round, this system basically forces everyone to work from a strategic ROI-based blueprint. The founders, the investors, everybody, they're all working from the same playbook, all aiming for the same thing, a profitable exit.
Okay, so that's the big idea. But how does this thing actually work? Let's break down the mechanics. This diagram here gives us a fantastic bird's-eye view. So it starts by pulling in all the essential financial info. You know, sales forecasts, tech roadmaps, the financials, and the cap table, which is just who owns what. It uses all of that to build what they call a master plan. That plan then gets put through this really intense ROI exit modeling engine. And what comes out the other side is a totally remodeled company plan, one that's been stress-tested and is now locked in on those shareholder ROI targets.
And this whole process is actually delivered through a full suite of services. First up, you have certification. This is what validates that 5-year plan. Then there's the audit, and this is a serious deep dive. We're talking 40 to 65 hours of due diligence that acts as third-party proof. Third, you've got the boot camp, which is online training to get the management team up to speed on all the tools. And finally, there's the modeling platform. This is a subscription that lets you play out all those what-if scenarios in real time. You know, what happens if we raise more capital? How does that affect valuation? It's a complete, integrated system.
And look, this whole system isn't just about feeling good. It's engineered to hit very specific, very real financial targets. The goal isn't just growth in some vague sense. Nope. It's about hitting these industry-standard returns on investment. For example, aiming for a 20x return for seed-stage investors, 15x for Series A, and 10x for Series B. Everything, every single decision is measured against these kinds of benchmarks.
Okay, so that's the proactive plan. That's how you build it right from the start. But what about that 90%? What about the companies that are already in trouble? Well, that brings us to the reactive solution, the Jump Start Rescue. Or as the source material puts it, this is for when the cavalry is coming.
So yeah, it's really important to think of these as two sides of the same coin, right? The capital drill is the proactive tool you use at the very beginning to build a rock-solid plan. The jump start, on the other hand, that's the emergency tool you bring in to rescue a company that's already stalled out and get it back in the game.
So the Jump Start program is all about speed and impact. It's the super fast 2-month turnaround designed to fix a company that's going nowhere. And the way it does this is really clever. It rebuilds the entire financial model by starting with the desired exit and working backward from there.
So how do they pull that off in just 2 months? Well, in month 1, a certified fractional CFO, think of them as a part-time elite-level CFO, comes in and does a deep gap analysis. They're basically a detective, figuring out exactly where the cash flow and value are breaking down. Then in month 2, they build and deliver a brand new investor-grade financial roadmap, a plan that is totally engineered for a successful exit within 5 years.
So when you combine the proactive capital drill with the reactive jumpstart, you get what the sources are calling a new financial standard. It's this complete system for managing your private equity investments from start to finish, whether things are going great or not so great.
And you might be wondering, who is this for? Well, the audience is actually pretty wide. It's for founders, right? Founders who need to prove their plan is solid to get that investor confidence. It's definitely for investors who are tired of vague promises and want real ROI-based accountability and a clear window into their portfolio's health. And it's also for the bigger players, funds, syndicates, family offices, who need a standardized way to validate and optimize performance across a whole bunch of different companies.
You know, there's a quote that really just nails the value proposition for an investor. It is a portfolio insurance policy, value creation accelerator, and exit engineering system all in one. I mean, think about that. It's your insurance policy, your accelerator, and your exit strategy all rolled into one. When you boil it all down, what we're really talking about here is a total transformation. It's about moving away from that chaotic world of tactical firefighting, constantly putting out fires and just hoping you make it to the next quarter. Instead, you move towards a disciplined, strategic, data-validated plan where every single decision is directly tied to the ROI and that final exit value.
And so, that leaves us with one final, and I think pretty powerful question, that every investor should be asking themselves. When you really look at your portfolio companies, are their futures being guided by a rigorous, transparent, and validated plan? Or are you just leaving their success and your returns up to chance?